Hey guys, me again, Orchler. What if Warrior last left off? Let's see. Checking. Warrior last left off. Deku pretty much talked the Inquisitor down from trying to murder, or didn't even talk him down. He told him that he wasn't. Sorry if you hear, again, Samson is here. Sorry if you hear him whining. As I've explained in previous videos. It's a big baby. But he's my big baby, so I'll love him no matter what. But anyways, yeah. Then we got more insight on how Fulcrum, the Chaos Space Marine, is dealing with All For One and the likes. He is being put in charge of Shigaraki's combat training, you could call it, as All For One believed that it would be a good idea for Shigaraki. So, as we continue forward with this, as we skip like half a year later, I'd say, is now at this point, Sato has gotten some of the implants. Same thing with Shigaraki. As Sato is moving along a nice pace, while Shigaraki has literally been almost beaten to death by Fulcrum. As he's stopped at the very last minute by All For One, like having to remind him, or Kurogiri saying, "We need him alive, Fulcrum. Master All For One wishes to speak with you again." It's like, oh, very well. I'll go see what he needs. As Deku and Sato, well, Sato right now is going under the process of getting more of his implants done. As Deku and them are like, it's nothing too interesting happening of late, is it? No, there isn't. Chaos, the warp has calmed somewhat. Were we wrong to fear about the chaos cults coming in mass? He's like, may have been. Or it could be that they're just very covert. I'll speak to my parents. Their technology on this whole is probably superior. No offense. The warp acts funny, as the librarians probably wouldn't be able to pinpoint the location even if it opened up. It's like, you have a point there, Deku. Very well. Please speak with them about this. As Nevron excuses Deku. Well, as Nevron excuses himself and Deku just leaves, leaving Sato in the care of the apothecaries. Deku's like, there hasn't been a lot to do. As he's just thinking, he's like, I guess I'll go home and relax for a day. Gotta keep up Sato's training. That's the only thing that's been keeping me busy, since I don't do school. As he's like, maybe I'll go visit Bakugo. Haven't done that in a while. As Deku is pretty much just gotten over this little grudge against Bakugo, coming to realize that Bakugo is also part of that, like, part of humanity that he has to protect. He's like, oh well, he doesn't know about the great enemy, but sorry, he still needs my protection. Sorry about that, guys. Had to sneeze. But as we skip over, as Momo makes a request to Deku, actually wanting to ask him a few questions, as he's like, I'll come over eventually. As he eventually shows up after, but he's doing this before he goes speak with Bakugo, as she's like, yes, Lady Momo? She's like, just Momo will do fine. I would like to know more about some of the things that I could help make you. Since, you know, that is what my quirk is all about. He's like, I do not know something that we need of the moment, because my armor and arms are all squared away. But I could bring some of the tech priests if you would like. She says that would be fantastic. As Deku's like, very well, as he teleports, retrieves a few, and like brings them. As they're like, we heard you can make technology or items. As she's like, yes, very much. As they're like, good. We could use a few things, correct? He's like, yes, we are missing a few components that we could build from scratch, but would take quite a while, simply because of the resources. Is he like, very well. It's like, what are these things? As they list off a couple of names of stuff, as she's like, how are those made and built? As she is able to, like, as she pulls one out, as she's like, as she, like, sort of, like, gets down, she's like, I can make one at the moment. Just give me a bit more time. As it's like, your quirk has drawbacks, yes? Deku saying, your quirk should be held back a little bit, Miss Momo, or Miss Yairozu. For now, this will be enough. When you have more strength, we will ask something similar again of you. He's like, yes, there's many things we need, but we will wait so as we don't exhaust a valuable resource. Don't try to jump on me while I'm recording. That is a rule we have. But, yeah. So we skip over to Sato as he wakes up. He's like, this is weird. Man, it's nice. He's like, what did I get at? Oh, I got that added. Is this, yeah, alright, sorry. As he's like, yeah, this is nice. As he gets up, as he goes to go, like, looking around for Deku, as then he's told, Deku's away at the moment. Not too much that can be said and done. As he's like, oh, very well, I shall just wait for his return, I guess. As he just looks around and just goes off to do whatever. As he asks about... Alright, sorry, give me a second. Sorry. Samson. I don't know why. You're just an attention hog. But as we skip over to... Well, not skip over to... Sato's just looking around looking for something to do. As he asks the captain... Well, not the captain. He asked, like, some of the, what do you call them? Probably called taskmasters or something, as they give out orders to, like, menials, you could call them. As it's like, excuse me, is there anything I could do to help around here? As like, oh, Lord, you do not need to call me a Lord. It's like, right. Sato will be fine. Or sufficient enough. As it's like, yes, Sato. Yeah, a few of them know Japanese, since, you know, they speak with Deku and some of the other people. As we skip over to, you know, not Deku. As he, like, goes to deal some tasks that they have to have done. Stop squeaking that thing, please. They doing a pretty good, as he does these tasks pretty well. As one of the Death Watch members, as they're just looking around, just like, So they look at him and they're like, That one is being trained by the angel, as they call him. As he says, excuse me there, Sato, battle brother Sato, or Scout Marine Sato. As it's like, yes. As he, like, turns around and sort of gives a salute. As it's like, you do not need to do that in front of me. I am not a, well, I guess in other parts I would be a high-ranking member, but here, not so much. Sorry, I had to go away for a quick second. But as he explains that, as the Death Watch member is like, I would wish to spar with you. The angel does not as I've sparred with the angel before, but I would like to spar with you to see if there's anything I could give you any pointers on. As he's like, well, I guess that should be fine. They said that the augmentations I got shouldn't really affect me training or sparring, so I guess it should be fine. As he's like, very good. As he walks over and grabs his actual sword, he's like, do you have an actual weapon? He's like, yes. As it's like, very well, go grab him. As he's like, alright. So he walks over and grabs, as at the moment, like, what I'm planning on, I'll have you guys see what I'm planning on for him to, like, use as weapons, because I think it makes sense. But for now, what he grabs is, he grabs just a plain old sword. No, actually, let's make it a hammer. Because it's reinforced to be able to handle, like, his strength. As he, like, swings it and smashes it into stuff. He's very fast with the hammer as well. As he grabs it, as he's like, a hammer. It makes sense. And is it reinforced, I'm guessing? He's like, very much so. It's reinforced with, let's just say it's reinforced with some stuff they use to make Space Marine armor, I guess. Something like that. I don't know all the exact detail. That'd actually probably be fun to do a few things on. What if Deku was this Rainbow Six Siege character, or R6 character? Like, what if Deku was Glaz? You need to learn all these details. Or he could be Montagne, or the Mountain. Names like that. Sorry. But yeah. As he and this guy begin to spar, as the Death Watch Marine understands that Sato is very skilled indeed. He's nowhere near the Angel's level yet. They've been sparring. They pretty much have been like getting Sato's patterns down. That's how they've been following along with it. They've had to speed up the process a little bit on getting Sato the augmentations. So with that, that's what they're doing, as they have to put a few more in him before, everything. So that way, before he turns 18, as they're putting all this stuff in him, he takes it a bit easy, but he's also learning how to shoot a bolter. As pretty much Sato joins in like a little contest with this Death Watch Marine. As Sato isn't able to match him in skills, quite a few skills, as he would notice, that Deku uses a bolter, and Sato says that Deku taught him how to use a bolter. This is like, oh really then? Show me. As Sato loads it, gets it cocked and ready, as he starts shooting, as he hits his marks pretty well, as he's like, that's very well done. Let's try this. As they get a different one out where it's like a bunch of moving targets. It's like, your bolter shall register which shots you landed. Very well. This is like, sure. As they get some special ammo for that, it's like, begin. As they start blasting away, and Sato comes up ahead of them by 1 point. They have an odd number there, so someone can have more points than the other. Sato's actually finding some enjoyment, just hanging out with this Death Watch Marine. As the Death Watch Marine says, you reminded me a lot of some of the others I knew in my chapter. He's like, what chapter were you a part of? Well, excuse me. Says, well, I was part of the... As the Space Marine says, his chapter is of the Ultramarines, and he doesn't think he introduced his name already, so he says, and I am Wilford. I think that's how it said. Wilford. Yes, more than one Wilford, I think, is a good name. What would you say? Maybe. Sato introduces himself as, I probably didn't need to do that, did I? He's like, no, you didn't. But it is still very polite for you to do so, Sato of the Lamenters. So, as Sato thinks, will you, are you gonna try to get back to, there? He's like, I may attempt. I must return back to my home chapter, the Ultramarines. We are the greatest Marines in the galaxy, and our favorite color is purple, and I wish to go see the corpse of our primary element. As he's like, wait, you have your father's corpse on display? He's like, it is a very confusing scenario. He's like, know what, I'm not gonna ask, cause your things can get weird. He's like, I know, and don't worry about it, Sato. Just as long as this place obeys the tenets of the Codex Astartes, I will have no issue whatsoever. As he's like, oh yeah, doesn't it also say you can only stay in 1,000 man strong chapters? As it's like, yep. As Sato's like, yeah, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. And he's like, why is that? He's like, from a personal standpoint, and I'll respect it, I think it was kind of dumb. It sounds more like, from what I was reading about, it doesn't seem like a text. It seems more like guidelines, like solutions, not the actual, you gotta do one of these or nothing. There's a benefit to free thinking, is what I'm saying. But we'll use this. I won't disgrace your father's name. That is not what I'm saying. So the Ultramarine is more of an understanding one, we'll say, for this, as he understands where Sato's coming from. As for a person who's been recently inducted to the Space Marines, he understands the whole confusion, because at first he was also kind of confused. From because he did believe in the Primox and the God Emperor of mankind and all that. But he also knows the whole idea of only 1,000 Space Marines for a chapter. At first, to him, did sound kind of weird. So he followed along, and eventually he came to agree with it. Because, do you know of the heresy? He's like, yes, I do. He's like, then you understand why it was necessary. To an extent, yes. But now if you think about it, well, I've heard of something called the Black Crusade, where a bunch of traitor Space Marines in their hundreds of thousands gather up and throw themselves at planets. How do you stop one of those? He's like, we take the chapters that already surround the Eye of Terror and hold them back. He's like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. It's like, it does not have to make sense. It is simply the way it is. As Sato's like, these Space Marines are weird. I'll never understand you. He's like, you may not, but then again, maybe it's best you don't. You would probably be confused severely. He's like, true. Wait, so what if a chapter did get over 1,000 and was only for a temporary amount of time? Could they just, like, separate that chapter into, like, half, and so that way they just start a new chapter? As he was thinking about this, and he's like, that could be a loophole to get around the whole no 1,000, no one over 1,000 strong Space Marines. Like, it wouldn't make kind of sense, wouldn't it? It's like, have several chapters just like repopulate or populate the ranks massively, and then just have them split off into separate chapters. Like, that just kind of makes more sense, doesn't it? He's like, in a way, that actually does make sense, Sato. There's wisdom in your words. He's like, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Wilfred. Sorry? As he and Wilfred continue to have a discussion on into the night. We skip forward even longer. This being in... I'm trying to decide a decent time to have him come up at, so... Let's say... I think a good mark would be... like maybe when they're 17. About to start the whole UA process. But, yeah, around that time. In this time, Sato has actually been sparring a lot more with this Death Watch member, understanding what he's saying. And then, like I said, they've been rushing Sato's augmentation implants, but from what I can tell, he's doing just fine. Especially since they're genetically grown to be suited towards him, as they rapidly grew them. So all the muscles, and it's pretty much everything inside of him is his, grown by him. Or not grown by him, but he is used to grow the organs being put inside of him. So there's a favorable outcome, you could say. So with this, some of the Marines think it's probably bad for it, for him to have this easier process, but they won't question Deku, so they just move along. They go along with it. We go through as Deku's finishing another meeting with Momo, as she talks more and more about how she's come to understand some of their physics and such, and how some of the weapons that they have work. As Momo is not, she understands how they work, but she doesn't understand how they're made. He says, neither do we just know, point and shoot with some of these weapons. She's like, well, it kind of makes sense since that, whatever you called it, the log night. He's like, yeah. I believe that's a thing that they know is the long night is when humanity fell and all that. But going from there, we'll continue on. Essentially, as we go forward with this whole thing, Deku and Momo actually develop a nice little talking relationship. Nothing's going past this. Don't plan on it there being any form of ships or anything, because it just doesn't make sense for the character Deku is now. He's a Space Marine, or is something along the lines of a Space Marine. He feels himself that he's higher than... but he feels that he does care for her, but as in the sense of a guardian or like a overseer. As Momo and Deku discuss more and more about the conversation, we'll skip over to Fulcrum, as Shigaraki's training has been coming along nicely. As they're going along the normal way of just putting the implants in them, as Shigaraki, through Fulcrum's training and discipline, has been hardened more significantly than he is in the anime. He's tossed away some of his childish notions, like everything, like anything he wants to do, he can do sort of scenario. He's had, those have been tossed away because of Fulcrum's like tough parenting skills, you could call it. As All For One is like, he does real nice work. As Fulcrum, and like eventually time will come for Shigaraki to get the implant. So going along with this, Deku and all them, going along with this, Shigaraki and all them will soon receive the implant, as they do eventually pinpoint something with Fulcrum's like deep meditation. Kurogiri warps him over immediately. As when they land there, he does have Shigaraki. Shigaraki is armed with some Scout Marine, you could call it armor, or very primitive armor at that. As they land there, Shigaraki's like, "What's this way, Fulcrum?" As Shigaraki is like more respectful to others, like as he sees Fulcrum as his superior in a way. As he's like, "This way, Shigaraki, is a possibility of getting you your own set of power armor." But we will see in a matter of moments. As they arrive, they hear, "Where are we? We were in the battle of," and it's like, "I don't know, sir, but it seems that we have been teleported to an unknown location." And it's like, "Very well. Stay together, guardsmen. We shall see what is around here." As they all like set up a little primitive camp, as there's 3 guardsmen and 1 space marine. As they hear snapping of twigs, the space marine's like, "Halt! Who goes there?" As of what appears before them is Shigaraki in his Scout Marine armor. As it's like, "Scout Marine, what chapter do you belong to?" "No chapter." As Shigaraki's just like, "I belong to no chapter." "I know what you're talking about." He's like, "Then where are we?" "You're on Earth. Where else?" As it's like, what the? As then from behind them they hear, as he hears the snap of a twig again, as he's like, "Watch out, guardsmen!" As then they're zapped away by like warp lightning, as they're pretty much just souls are sucked out or something like that. As he's like, "Their souls will be nice offerings, pitiful as they are." As he's like, "Traitor." As he goes to draw his weapon, Shigaraki goes over and touches it, as it just starts decaying rapidly as it breaks into rust and dust. As he's like, "You are both traitors." As he goes to pretty much try to pull out his combat knife, Fulcrum's like, "Your fight is with me, loyalist." As he moves forward, smashing into him with like psychic power, as he's launched somewhat into trees. As at this moment, nobody's there at the moment to like see what's happening at Deku's little manor. So right now they're busy in a way. So one day they leave it unattended. Something goes down. As with that, he goes to stand up, but Kurogiri puts a portal in between them, as he sinks into the ground and is just kept there, not of his own free will. As he's like, "Get me out of this." Shigaraki is like, "What do we do now, Fulcrum?" He's like, "Now we have your armor." As he whirls up his, I'll just say he has he brings up his power sword and pretty much decapitates the space marine of the unknown chapter. As that seems like a nice part to end it off at. Yeah, it's a little bit. Sorry, it's kind of short and not that much action again. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys continue to enjoy this. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Hope you guys continue to enjoy this, and I hope you guys have a nice day, nice night, nice life. I keep on messing my outro somehow. But again, thank you.